Good morning, good day, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. We are super delighted to have you. We'll give everyone another minute or two to join, just because times are busy. We're just coming off a super huge Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend. I hope you've all recovered from your shopping sprees. So another minute or two, and then we'll kick it off right here. So stick with us. We're going to get started in just a minute. I was notorious for inventing the 3-minute rule, which I never claimed. It's my colleagues that did that. So meetings should always start no later than 3 minutes past the scheduled meeting time. If it tells you anything, then probably it lets you know that my roots are German, just like Andreas's. So we're really keen to get us started here as soon as possible, because it should be honored and respected that people are on time, and we'll do just that. So one more time, good morning, good day, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Jasmin Guthmann. I'm the head of corporate communications at Contentstack and the executive board member at the MACH Alliance. We're here today with a really cool story, and we have a fantastic guest, and Andreas and I will be spending the next 40 to 45 minutes with you all to let you in on a few of the secrets behind Black Friday success that we see at customers like Emma Sleep. So how do you actually make the most of your Black Friday sales? How important are they for your business? And what can you do from a technology perspective, from a business perspective, from a leadership perspective to make your Black Fridays even more successful going forward? That's what we've gathered here to do. I'm super excited. And with no further ado, I would like to introduce Andreas Westendörpf, CTO at Emma Sleep. And I will hand it over to you, Andreas, to let us in on a first overview of what just happened at Emma Sleep.
Perfect. Thanks, Jasmin. And again, like always, delighted to talk to you and to tell people also a bit about our story. Indeed, my name is Andreas Westendörpf. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Emma, the sleep company. So if you know us, or probably you know us by the mattress brand by now, Emma has grown to the largest D2C mattress brand in the world. We're selling our products in 32 countries around the globe, from Canada to New Zealand. So basically almost covering all geographies. So a quite known brand already, but also a quite young company. And as such, I joined the company 3 years ago as the first Chief Technology Officer, and have been tasked and working on continuing this very impressive growth trajectory that the company is on. So essentially almost doubling the business every 2 or 3 years. And this year approaching the threshold of 1 billion euro of revenue worldwide. So kind of a interesting story. And if we look a little bit back on our journey, and how we got here. When I joined the company 3 years ago, the technology was one of those teams that were set up still from the very early days as a functional unit that would take in requirements from the business and build essentially on top of a self-hosted, highly customized monolithic solution, features for business development. But essentially what that came down to after some time, after a couple of years, being a startup and scaling so massively, it became quite apparent that this is not working anymore. So we accumulated over time so much technical debt that our stakeholders had, or the business teams had big troubles understanding why things take so long. Why do you always need everybody with their hands on deck to change anything, and really agilely or in an agile fashion develop your business. And then you somehow refocus, you work with global lists for prioritization. What then that ends up to with again is more technical debt being built, and essentially pressing all through the same funnel, through the same meat grinder, so to say, didn't work out anymore for us. So it became very sequential, and it didn't scale anymore. And that I say scaling here, or scalability as an issue, it was not the technical scalability, but we were not able to do so many things anymore in like concurrently. And that is exactly why we went on our journey towards something better and something that would actually be more business agile and help us grow in so many directions. Because one thing is, and that's maybe also kind of part of the secret sauce of the company being able to scale that much, is we don't do one focal topic or two focal topics per year. We do 15. We do so many that we try always to empower our teams to develop our business in any direction that makes sense. But in order to do so, you also need so much tech. You need, and if it all then again needs to go through that single point where everything becomes slow, it just, I mean, it's just stopping to work. And this was exactly what we were facing. And it basically came from this.
Hold on, go back.
Yeah.
Question, because
yes.
I love it. And like the audience, I think I have two questions. One, I think I love both the pictures, because that's on the left-hand side with the, well, what is supposed to be a house, and it's holding its own umbrella. That's that is such a fitting picture. And but the problem is many of the business users never get to see the house. So, you know, in this picture, it's very easy to tell that it is broken, but what we see many times is the technology and the tech debt that you've accumulated is a closed shop. It is underground if you want to look at the right-hand side picture. So people don't know how much technical debt you've accumulated and why it is so hard. And now that you said that you don't have one or two focus projects or areas, no, you have 15. How do you make sure that everybody is aware of what the others are doing, so you don't end up drilling holes from two sides, and instead of meeting in the middle, you go,
yeah. I mean, it's not perfect. I must admit also, doing so many things comes with a bit of volatility and comes with a bit of chaos. But again, also this part of like the energy here at Emma, that we grasp opportunities very, very fast. But indeed, this aspect of coordination and alignment is very important. I mean, one thing that you need to definitely talk a lot about and make transparent or create transparency about is actually what tech debt means. And as such, actually, I mean, I have it here on my slides, and it's called tech debt, and it's a very known, I don't know, analogy to financial, to financial aspects in terms of the naming of it, because debt needs to be somehow paid off, right? So this is basically the metaphor being used. However, it's usually stops there, and this is not good. Meaning, I mean, with that, you just tell your stakeholders we have technical debt, but what does this actually mean? What's the implication of that? What are the reasons? For my feeling now, and also with the learnings of the past years, I would try to avoid the term technical debt as such, but rather speak about the consequences of it. Tell and align and make transparent to stakeholders what this technical debt is about. Because if you just say technical debt, or what will it create? Because if you just use the word, they will either understand something that is necessary to do, otherwise we cannot proceed in any way and with anything else. Is it a blocking thing? Is it something that is more like, okay, now it's the engineers that want to do something more beautiful? Is that really necessary? So actually, the implications of what these individual items of tech debt that you accumulate in your backlog are is important, and to explain that. And I would actually refrain from using the term tech debt within this stakeholder or business discussions in the future, and rather talk about what does this actually influence. So if you have, like we did back then, the technology debt of a highly customized software monolith, then the implication of that is every time we try to build something new or modify something, the likelihood of it breaking and like outage situations is high. So it's very risky so the risk level just increased to an unbearable amount over time. So rather try to explain that. And then you can also have the right discussions about what is important, what is not.
Well, I love the comparison that you made with the financial services or the financial industry, because debt is a liability. So it is associated with a cost. So let's talk about what is it costing us if we hang on to this old piece of technology or this old way of doing things, because there is a cost associated with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. Straight back to your original.
And maybe just to explain how did we come here. I mean, the company is in hypergrowth mode since years now, and what that led to is different levels of maturity in terms of the different architectures you have within the company. There's something what I call like business architecture, how you conduct business, where the channels, the regions, the product lines that you're selling. So what is your overall business strategy, and what architecture does it rely on? There's the processes that actually run then the operational tasks of conducting the business, and then there's technical architecture where these processes and procedures are implemented. And while in hypergrowth we grew very quickly from being a small German-based business into a multinational 32-country D2C B2B brand. And by the way, opening our own stores now. We're opening our second store now in Cologne, like physical retail store. So we're going the opposite way like many others, because there's a lot of potential yet to be seized there. Our process landscape and the technical architecture and the process architecture were not mature to that level that we have already developed the business to. And this didn't scale anymore. It just became very fragile, and we needed to reinvent, and that is one of the major efforts of the last 3 years, reinvent, and to an extent re-engineer how our business was functioning, and re-implement that also with the processes on new architecture. I mean, today I'm also an ambassador of the MACH Alliance, and if I would have known 3 years ago that the MACH Alliance was a thing, it was just founded back then when I joined Emma, and it became an ambassador a year later. But I was like I was very happy that finally the principles and paradigms of modern software development entered e-commerce. Was about time.
Hey, absolutely. And let's make that connection here to what does that do for you? Because, you know, we talk a lot about going composable, that it makes your business future fit. But how? What does it actually do for you, and how does it de-risk what you've just beautifully explained?
Yeah, and we also want to talk about Black Friday, right? So, I mean, we lured everybody in here because we wanted to talk about Black Friday, right? So let's talk Black Friday. This was Black Friday 2 years ago. In 2021, we were still running on the monolith. We had just started our replatforming initiative towards the MACH architecture. But for us as a business and in this industry of sleepwear and mattresses and beds, there's a huge spike during Black Friday and Black Friday season. So the weeks, like the 4 weeks before and 2 weeks after Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So this is a major spike, and 20 to 30% of the yearly business is being conducted in that time. So huge spikes in business. And in 2021, again, we were still running on the monolith. And the left picture should show we did 6, because when you're running something that is kind of fragile and you don't want to break it, when business really, or our business development teams basically ramped up the marketing and prepared everything to create the best, high season ever. And the best Black Friday ever, you introduce a frozen period, so you don't change stuff anymore. And that happened 6 weeks like before Black Friday. We did like a hard deployment freeze. There were no changes deployed in like 6 weeks before Black Friday. We did intensive load testing, scaled up a second environment of the monolith, which was also very expensive to run, like a second environment of the production infrastructure to test against, and load tested with synthetic load and trying to replicate what we actually were thinking to face during Black Friday. For the Black Friday, we installed 24-hour monitoring. So we had every minute of the day somebody on duty, watching the systems and the health of the systems, being able to jump in if something goes sour. And yet, all of that didn't prevent us to face a huge spike in demand that actually brought down our systems for hours. And we lost.
Oh my goodness.
We had a very, very long night that night. And it was, well, you don't, so basically using the metaphor, you have customers running into your mall and but it's not working anymore. You cannot sell products. And because it was like a monolithic setup, also all of it was burning. So we couldn't, like usually in an e-commerce setup, you can decouple or you can run the online store, and that this is following the customer journey in the synchronous fashion, and then you can have the asynchronous order management stuff later. And once an order is in, you can deal with the order somehow, even if the systems have problems in availability. With a monolith, you can't. It's one thing if it runs or it breaks. And then for us that night, it broke, and it was very, it was still a successful Black Friday, but it showed us how important it is that we move to something more reliable, more manageable, more scalable very fast. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I have to say, I'm so sorry, because I mean, you really experienced what you've put on the slide here. You know, you don't do a lot of things that you should be doing for 6 freaking weeks, which is forever. And then it doesn't even pay off because it still breaks just because of volume. That is
volume and I mean, not only volume, because volume triggers effects that are very hard to replicate in synthetic tests. And I mean, we found bugs that night that once resolved made the platform run again, but it's a bit late for that then. And also, like the platform dragging down the entire business is just unacceptable. So, and as a company, basically fast forwarding and leapfrogging out of such a setup to really build something that is able to host the billions of euro business that we want to be, was then the exercise of the next 3 years, or 2 years, to be honest, 2 years.
Yeah.
It's Black Friday 2023 now. So, and that's what we did. no more band-aids was a very important topic, because we were like putting band-aids on band-aids for too long. What we did then is basically go through our system landscape, most importantly, our business processes, understanding, really re-engineering the business. And I can tell you that is something that if you're used to be a startup, this is kind of a heavy exercise, because you are just a couple of years old. And as a startup, you don't document your business. Like the basic, you're in survival mode. You basically build what needs to be built today and tomorrow, but you don't plan ahead for years and document stuff that you don't need right now, because there's more important priorities. You again are in survival mode. And now, as we have grown to that stage where we are now as a scale up, we need to take a different angle here and kind of rebuild what we have become. And we did so by a couple of applied a couple of methods. One being really going through our business domains. Gartner calls this packaged business capabilities. Basically, what areas of the business can you somehow package as functionality and data that should and could live on its own. And then you kind of classify, are these systems of innovation? Is this something that actually gives you competitive advantage? Is that something for differentiation, where you differ in the market? Or is this simply like a commodity that you can buy in the market? And we went through those business domains and through the system landscape and then designed a future landscape using a set of paradigms and principles that had a very interesting match with something that we then stumbled upon, that was the MACH Alliance and the MACH principles. And let's say it was a perfect match, so to say. And eventually ended up becoming our Emma commerce operating system that we today run, that we ran the entire business on over Black Friday now for our D2C customers. And we are very happy that after 2 years of replatforming and transitioning, there's a lot coming also along with this, like not only technical, but also in terms of how you build the organization, how you define scopes, how do you set up empower product teams, how do you collaborate with your with the other teams in the other business areas. But I'm very happy to say that we now concluded that migration and we don't have any business remaining on D2C in D2C on the old stack within 2 years.
Yeah. And let's maybe take a moment. I'm not sure. I always like to make sure that everybody in the audience knows what the MACH Alliance is, because you and I know it inside out and front and center. But maybe let's just take that minute. And we have a question that is super interesting in that regard. We'll get to that in a second. Thank you, Guido, for asking. The MACH Alliance is a nonprofit institution, neutral institution that aims to advocate for best of breed technology architecture. So it really is about, and I love how you had that on the slide, is best of breed solutions stitched together, brought together in the most sensible way for your business, because every business has different needs, individual needs that need to be serviced or that you would like to service. And the fantastic the beauty of going composable is that it allows for so much more flexibility, so much more scalability, and it is an individual solution that allows you to stitch the best pieces together in a way that is unique to you. And the MACH Alliance makes sure that every vendor that is certified under the MACH Alliance seal actually knows what the heck they're talking about. Because what we see a lot of times in the market is everybody says composable. So if you I'm sure you've all heard that plenty of times and you've been wondering, what's the deal? We have a lot of education to do. And if you're looking for a neutral source of information that is non-biased and doesn't want to sell you anything, then please do head on over to the MACH Alliance's website, machalliance.com.org, I'm sorry, because that's where you find information that is neutral, nonprofit, the best advice I think that you can find. And we have fantastic people like Andreas here, ambassadors, we call them, your peers, people in businesses that have walked the talk, that have gone through digital transformation and have made it successfully. And they're also open, and that's what I love about talking to you, Andreas. You're honest. We talk the good, the bad, and the ugly because it's not easy and it can get messy. But the great thing about the MACH Alliance and the ambassador program is it's a safe place to come together and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. How did you solve for that? Or anybody been in the same place? You can really get together and share your success, but you can also bring your problem and be like, hey, here's what I'm trying to figure out. Who's able to help with that? And I think that's just a fantastic resource to tap into if you're inside a business right now trying to figure out how to do this or how to take the next step. Here's a fantastic place for you. And that relates to the question that Guido asked, and I think we want to just pull that in here, Andreas, if that's cool. The question is, we're seeing a good strategy to make the architecture in the way of MACH, but can you talk a bit about how to transform the team in that way? And I know you're super passionate about that. We just talked about that at Web Summit in Lisbon. So perfect question. Thank you, Guido. Andreas, team.
Yes. I mean, there's so much to it. It's like, I mean, it starts with the very basic or very foundational idea that there's this organizational psychologist and a computer scientist, Melvin Conway, in the 1960s, and he put up something that is today referred to Conway's law, and it basically says that however you design a technical system or a technical architecture, this is going to reflect on the organization, on the team structure that runs and develops this, and the other way around. The way you set up the teams, the interfaces between teams you design will turn out to be interfaces in your software. So there's high dependencies on each other. So and as I said earlier, for Emma, it's super important to be able to execute and deliver in parallel, concurrently, in a way that we can drive many objectives at the same time. In order to do so, you need to first empower the teams that you're working with. Empowering the teams means you need to give them everything they need, all capabilities and necessary capacities, so they can deliver something feasible, viable, and usable to the customer, to the customers and your business. This is the idea and the concept of empowered product teams. Marty Kagan of the Silicon Valley Product Group talks a lot about this, but a lot of organizations nonetheless also before and after have found out that setting up teams in such an interdisciplinary way that they have the least dependencies on other teams makes actually a lot of sense, because you start seeing them as little startup cells within your own organization, and they can move at their own pace. They can start, I mean, it doesn't need to go as far as everybody runs their own, I don't know, AWS environment. Sometimes you also want to, there's a threshold and a trade-off where you want to centralize topics. And but the basic idea is that they should be as autonomous as possible to deliver as concurrent as possible. And also in our journey over the last 2 years, then in this transformation, we came across multiple topics. So we set up our teams in a way that they were first in a project, a replatforming project, and this project had work streams that were designed to cover those different business areas, like the online store, like the fulfillment backbone, like the finance and operational core, just saying like 3 bigger ones here. And you set them up in a way that they have the least dependencies on each other as possible, giving all of those 3 work streams the necessary skills and capacities to execute and build something new. Then over time, those work streams that started as projects became permanent products. Once they go live with the first country, and we went live with our first country 6 weeks into the project, they become a permanent structure. These teams are now permanent. The online store is there and it's here to stay and needs to do business. So it's becoming a permanent structure. And then over time, I can tell you over the 2 years, we had a couple of points in time where we discovered new couplings between teams that we initially set up to be like decoupled and work independently from each other, but then there were tight couplings. And those tight couplings create problems because then the one team wants to roll out, the other team needs to roll out. And I don't know, online store goes country by country by country, or channels per country also, channel and country combination. Fulfillment is usually by fulfillment location, doesn't go by country or market. ERPs or finance and operational core usually go by legal entity. So you end up in a situation where there's not a single perfect order for rollout. And then what you need to do is really go into the details and spend time on decoupling those different elements or different work streams, different product teams again, in order to make them able to deliver individually. That sometimes means that you need to go to your legacy system and prep that. To separate, for example, we needed to separate the online store running in the legacy system from the order management running in the legacy system. But this is hard. This is a hard journey. I cannot. I'm a big enthusiast about MACH and the principles in modern software engineering applied in e-commerce, but I also. It's not something you need to build a sophisticated team to be able to do this. You need tech product management, you need engineering culture, you need to have a very strong team.
Yeah, and a strong leader. And if, I know that your team appreciates you a ton, because you give them the freedom, but you also give them the tools to be able to be creative and to remove the obstacles that they're facing. Let's tie it back into Black Friday, because I know you brought some fancy stats.
So yes, sure. So this is our new architecture, right? So this is the landscape of tools that we run. And a lot of them, I mean, it's rent and build, right? So it's not you don't get everything out of the box. This is actually what also the monolith oriented vendors come always like, they want to give you this highly integrated stuff, and it looks easier. It's actually not if you look into the internals of it. Because what MACH also does, and you see it on the slide a little bit on the example of Emma and Emma Cost, is it pulls the complexity of a distributed landscape up in front. It doesn't try to hide it, and that's a good thing. What it actually does and what it did for us at Black Friday is this. It's created a situation where we did not need to freeze our deployments. We had, there was not a lot of changes or deployments scheduled, because there's also on the functionality side, you don't develop so much before like a peak season period, but we did not need to freeze. So we were able to continue incremental work. You don't want to go super risky and start something very radical, but there was nothing. We didn't need to take such precautions. And what you can see on the left side here is we prepared a lot, also our observability, something that we didn't have before in the monolithic setup. We had basically very deep insights and observability now on every single service that we developed or that was running on the platforms that we use. And there was almost 100%, 99.99% availability of these services. Not a single order lost, not a single customer not being able to finish their purchase. we had our load spikes. So we had spikes, and these are like orders coming in, and you can imagine people sitting in front of or staring at dashboards in the middle of the night. And everybody very eager and very, I mean, this is what we,
Oh yeah.
this is what we train for situation, where everybody is super excited. However, it was fortunately also a bit boring because there was not so much, like we saw the business going up and up and up and orders being placed, but there was nothing unexpected happening, and it was uneventful. And
which is exactly what you want to be saying.
yes, I mean, it goes a little bit against that hero cult of of saving the day and putting out fires, but this is exactly how you run your business. This is professional. And I can only say the team did such a great job in making, not only creating a platform that is robust, that is scaling, that worked on a level that is almost hyper scalar grade reliable. So 4.9ers is quite good for a complex system landscape, but also created so much better ability to steer, to observe the business in real time, and this was just really great to see. And
amazing.
yeah, that is.
Yeah. And babe, just one more thing to add, because you're so humble and I totally appreciate that. But from a Contentstack point of view, just to sort of underscore what an accomplishment this is that you've just showed, we saw 12.5 billion API calls this Black Friday. That's a 32% increase year over year. So just let that sink in for a moment. So, you know, you did amazingly well. And the fact that it was so boring is the best potential outcome. So, you know, well done. That is really amazing.
Thanks. Yeah. And again, best team. Hashtag one team, one dream. And also, I mean, coming back also to the question that we just had, I mean, what this change, this replatforming was not a replatform. This was an entire organizational effort to reshape our collaboration. What it changed was also, like before, we were like 3 years ago, we were a feature factory sitting on the one side of the table, and there was the business owning the revenue, so always right by definition, sitting on the other side of the table telling us what to do. And this was not a good collaboration. Today, we have these empowered product teams working with the business, working the business. We don't, like in a traditional IT, and that's, I intentionally use the word IT, not tech, but in like a traditional IT understanding, engineers and product owners would be good enough to tell you the availability and some technical metrics, like the R&D ones we are talking about here. But actually, what our teams look at are orders. Our teams are looking at euros of order intake. I don't show the euros here because we still need to do our financial, like the year of end closing stuff. And this is going to be published anyhow, but our teams are taking care of business metrics these days and not about technical metrics anymore. This is a mindset change. This is really brought us together.
Well, because now you're, and I find that highly impressive, because that is the way to go, but it's so hard because it is a fundamental change in how you look at things, and it brings everybody together. It forces everybody in the company to come together and look at the same things and stop comparing apples and oranges, because now you're all talking money, and that's really, really amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, this is also the big differentiation between IT and tech. IT in the past was about only supplying a service or providing something, but not really caring if it's being used or if it's being the right thing provided. Tech is different. Tech is the business.
Yeah, and
And
you're going from almost, being perceived as a cost center in many instances. I tease this ugly thing in the basement that costs money and just needs to work, and I don't want to think about it, hear about it, or have anything to do with it. To tech is enabling, not just it is enabling, empowering, future-proofing my business. If my tech isn't right, I'm going to die if I'm so.
I think eventually any company needs to make tech part of their core business proposition, because like the ones that are just outperforming the competition so hard. So this is just, again, we're back to survival of the fittest, sort of. And everybody needs to embrace tech these days, embrace what is coming with with AI and machine learning. So
Absolutely.
this is the next thing.
And you know what? I would love to do another session just about that, because we're right on time or running out of time, whichever way you want to look at it. So would love to just open it up for probably a quick question. If we have someone in the audience who has been scratching their head about something that we just walked through, now is your time to just either put it in a chat box or use the Q&A button probably on the bottom of your screen. And then we're all already out of time, which is kind of sad. I will just love talking to you, Andreas. It's so beautiful to see. And here is a question coming in. That's a good one. I've been trying to sell MACH principles to the C-level, but I'm having a hard time convincing them. What can I do better? Ooh.
Well, I mean, it's difficult because MACH is now something that floats around the boardroom indeed, and it stands for very technical terms. Microservices, API first, cloud native, and headless are not something that is not business jargon. So this is new stuff indeed. So it's not an easy conversation to have, but I would not try to follow the old ways of justifying a technology upgrade with a business case. But for us, for example, the business case was super clear because the cost of opportunity was in the millions, while the cost of or in the triple or double and triple digit millions, while the cost of going forward with this is by magnitudes lower. So it's an easy kind of discussion to have, and you don't need to build a business case where hypothesis is based on hypothesis is based on hypothesis, and something changes, everything trips, or everything's green or red all the time. These things don't really work well for these kinds of these are step functions in development. So you need to really take the leap or leapfrog ahead to do this. I mean, what kind of helps in such discussions is by nature. I mean, MACH is now one thing, and it drives composable commerce. That's the larger topic, right? So how can you run your commerce with tools that you can compose? There you can select, attach, detach, change over time. And the benefits of that are easier to explain because there's so the vendor lock-in is way less. And also the problems you solve are way more local. And with them being more local, scope is smaller, and you can actually deliver something quicker. So if you get enough, so you don't need to ask your board for a big change always where you basically, like we did, turned up every stone and changed the entire landscape. You can also start with something small, show the value, and go business domain or package business capability by one, and improve that. And you can already share or show value being created very early, within weeks and months, not years. And I mean, I love that I've read that somewhere. I've been using it for myself since then, like copying a bit. This is going composable is the last replatforming that you're going to do. You are going to attach and maybe or replace over time individual components. But because the basic principles how these things work together are always the same, you're not re-platforming. You don't scrub away the platform beneath it. You just take something else, take it in, remove the old part. But the cost of change is way smaller because it's way more local.
Yeah. And that is a beautiful closing statement. Going composable is the last re-platforming you'll ever have to do. Thank you so much for your time, Andreas. Really, really very much appreciated. I really think we should put on another thing about AI and large language models and how that is going to transform businesses and your business specifically. So we've taken note. We'll follow up on that. Everybody in the audience, thank you so much for being here and for staying with us for the whole time. Appreciate you. We're going to share the recording afterwards, so stay tuned and feel free to share that with the colleagues that weren't able to make it at this time live, but there will be a recording, so watch out for that. And if there are any questions pop up later, feel free to find both Andreas and I on LinkedIn as probably the easiest way to get in touch. We're happy to answer any questions you may have. And with that, have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, whatever time it is where you're at. We appreciate you and we will see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. It was my pleasure. Thanks, Jasmin.
Thank you, Andreas. Appreciate you.